Okay, so made a lot of progress. I did not record a lot of it. I recorded a little time lapse of me putting the engine on the stand and taking off a couple accessories, but I sort of forgot my phone was there, so that was kind of accidental. But yeah, all accessories are off except for this little hose. I don't know why I forgot it. It's not really in the way. Valve cover's off, oil pan is off, and the upper lower timing covers are off, and it's all great news so far. So the cams, they look really good. I mean, I can barely find any wear marks on them. There's a little bit of sludge buildup here in the valve train. It's on the timing covers too. Nothing to really be concerned about. I mean, considering the state of the cams, I'm really not worried. Timing chain looks all good. No broken tensioners or anything. I mean, they're a little worn. There's some grooves in this one. Again, nothing to be worried about. The oil pan also looks great. It looks like there's shit in there, but those are just casting imperfections in the pan. It freaked me out a bit when I first saw it, but then I realized what it was. Nothing in the oil pickup tube either. So overall, very good news. I think this engine is in really good shape. What's next? Next is taking the timing chain off and then get the head off, I guess. Or maybe I should borescope the cylinders before. I'm just curious. For some reason, I haven't taken the spark plugs out and borescoped the engine yet. That should have been one of the first things I should have done, but that kind of escaped me. I think I might do that now. So here we are on the shitty Amazon borescope, and I can still see factory crosshatch, which is very good. I can also see little shavings of something, and that something is probably stuff that came out of the injector holes when I pulled them, because some of them were real crusty, and I was an idiot. Forgot to even consider that some of the valves were open. So this one isn't that bad. It looks all right. I don't really see any bad scoring, anything like that. But if we go over to cylinder, it's either 1 or 5, I do not know. There is a lot of shit in here, and that is because the valves were fully open. I mean, you can see some of the residue here in the intake runner. So I think, just to be safe, I will not be turning this engine over. I'll probably just go straight to pulling the head off so I can actually clean the pistons, all that stuff. I mean, this is all stuff I was going to do anyways, and I'm confident that the engine ran and turns over fine from what I've seen, so that's all right. But whoops, bit of a mistake on my part. Okay, so a bit of progress and something new. I have an Osmo Pocket 3 now. I mainly got it so I could shoot rollers of the Polo, but also my other cars and friends' cars, etc. So that's exciting, smooth and crisp, blah, blah, blah. The head is off, and the engine is upside down. Here's the crank and rods, etc. And still good news. I mean, last time when I took the valve cover off, I noted that there was engine sludge, or a bit of sludge in the head. Nothing crazy. Like I would expect it for a relatively high mileage engine. And when I took the cams off, the journals all look really good. There's like pretty much no scoring on any of them. There's a couple light scratches on one of them, but nothing to be worried about. I was a little worried about all this grime and buildup inside the journals, but it does wash off. Like this one looked pretty bad, and I just wiped it a couple times with the shop towel and degreaser, and it already looks a lot better. And under all that grime is a really good bearing surface, with no scratches, no nothing. So, and this one for some reason was super clean, despite the other ones not being that clean. Anyways, here are the cam caps. Weird thing about these, so you can see that they're all labeled and have an orientation. So like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, etc. The first two are out of order and upside down. So, yeah, someone has opened the head up before and maybe removed or replaced the VVT block, and they fucked up the first two cam caps and installed them wrong. But if you take a look at the journals where they were mounted, and even the caps themselves, I mean, they look great. So it must not have mattered. Either that or they came this way out of the factory by some fluke, which I find that hard to believe. But this does pose a bit of a dilemma when I put everything back together. Should I do it the right way, like the factory way, and have, you know, correct orientation, this down there and flipped? Or should I just put it back in like I found it? Because obviously it worked because there's no abnormal wear. I don't know. I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. I'll probably just do it the way the manual says. It seems like if they really were swapped and put upside down and there's no abnormal wear, then I'm not really worried about it. But cylinder walls still look good in person. I know I borescoped them the other day and it was kind of hard to tell, but the factory crosshatch is still there. There's no real light, so I can't show you. I still have to clean the cylinders out of all that shit that I got in there when I pulled the injectors. But yeah, next up is removing the pistons and rods and inspecting the cylinder walls more closely and the rod bearings. I'm probably going to pull the crank too and do crank bearings, not because I think this engine needs it. I mean, from what I've seen right now, everything looks to be in really good shape, even though oil change intervals were not amazing. But like, mostly for the experience, you know. If I'm going to rebuild an engine, might as well do the whole thing, do it right, do all the measurements, etc. I mean, why not? I'm 90% of the way there. So those will be my next steps, and I guess I'll make a new video when everything is fully apart, and then I can start spending a shit ton of money and putting everything back together. Although there is kind of a question. I don't know if I want to build this engine up a little bit, you know, with like ARP bolts, just in case I decide to boost it in the future, or, you know, throw a supercharger on it. Because, you know, now is the time to do it, obviously. I still have to do a little bit more research into that. Because that's the thing, even if I do throw a supercharger on here, this thing is super tiny. There's not even much room in there, so it's not like I'm going to be running crazy amount of boost. And I don't want to do anything super crazy with it, but it would be cool to have a supercharger on it. I don't know. I think I'm getting ahead of myself here. But point is, good news, no abnormal wear, and I'm excited to tear the rest of it apart.